Hello, I am Sinfogale. So for this month we can challenge Azelf. I am going to be real with you and tell you right away that this is the hardest legendary arena to date, only second to Entei. Today we will cover how to cheese Azelf with a fairly accessible free-to-play team. Azelf is perhaps the most mechanically complex legendary arena so far. I usually gloss over boss AI, but in this case it is very helpful to understand what happens on Azelf's health transitions. Azelf is all about switching defenses. He has a couple passive skills called Sterner Stuff Aid and Brain Brown Aid, which lower damage from physical and special moves respectively, and Azelf alternates between them depending on his current health. Azelf activates Sterner Stuff 8 when the battle starts, and becomes highly resistant to physical damage. But when he falls below 50% health, he deactivates Sterner Stuff and activates Brain Brown instead. This behavior holds true for his second health bar as well. Now, there is something important about Sterner Stuff and Brain Brown. These passives lower damage from attacking moves, but not from sinks. Sinks will always deal their full damage against Azelf regardless of their offensive spectrum. This changes on Azelf's tier health bar, where he uses two different passives called Brawn Barrier 8 and Brain Barrier 8. They function the same as Sterner Stuff and Brain Brawn, but they also protect against sink moves for their respective damage spectrums. Another important thing to note about Azelf's tier health bar is that he gains one stage of evasion, he gains piercing gaze for his fierce half health, and his general bulk drops to a pathetic state, where any striker can finish him off. Besides Azelf's passives, he has insane offensive stats, and is downright impossible to tank without powerful defensive units like 3-5 Skyla, 3-5 Misty or 3-5 Signasuit Blue. Azelf's sync is also physical, so defense buffs are very helpful. Knowing all this, we can enact a plan of action. The best way to deal with Azelf is through sync nukes because they bypass Sterner Stuff and Brain Brown, and we preferably want to use special strikers because Azelf starts all his health bars with physical resistance, so we can sync nuke the special resistance section of his health. As for methods to dealing with Azelf, you could try playing defensive and outlast him. 6-star EX Rosa, Mew and Skyla can actually 3v1 this encounter, but Skyla needs to get lucky with potion refreshes because Azelf hits incredibly hard. For this reason I recommend using a sleep chain instead, so you have more control over the battle. With a sleep chain, even without proper timing, you can prevent Azelf from dealing damage. These intervals of safety will help your team reach more sinks without having to tank as much. Now, there is also MGR assisted sleep. This is an alternate method of sleep chaining where you use moves that have a guaranteed chance of proccing an effect, and this helps manipulate a listen sleep aid enemy into waking up at a predictable time. Part 3 Azelf has listen sleep aid, and the method I will recommend today actually makes use of this, so we will cover it as well. If you are not familiar with sleep mechanics, I will leave a guide in the description if you want to better understand this status, but I will briefly cover the basics. Currently in Pokémon Masters there are 5 sleep users: Ramos, Agatha, Serena, Tech Bellsprout, and the recent addition of Tech Bulbasaur. Serena automatically allows you to perform this sleep chain because she is fast and can self-buff accuracy. The other 4 will have to deal with inaccurate sleep moves. You can solve this by giving them a couple accuracy buffs or teaching them the lucky skill Troublemaker 1 from Crunchy Cookies to guarantee their accuracy. Tech Bulbasaur innately knows Troublemaker 1 if you hatch one with 3 passives. Even if you cannot raise accuracy through any means, the method I will show today will work fine without a perfectly accurate sleep move, so don't worry about it too much. In general, speed is the name of the game here, so my personal recommendations are Agatha or Serena for this sleep chain to work. The next component for a team is speed support. In a sleep chain, you are generally going to struggle with gauge because you don't get a chance to see enemy attack animations, and this is further aggravated when the team lacks move gauge refresh skills. The best bet for this role is Skyla. Besides being an already phenomenal defensive support, she does 3 things for this strat. She provides speed, she provides defense to protect against Azelf's sync move, and she has a spammy 1-bar move that we can use to progress the sync countdown. Her potions will also give us room for error if the sleep chain breaks, and the team has to eat extra attacks. As for the striker, there is a lot of liberty in options, so I will just tell you what you want to look for. I recommend strikers with sync nuking capabilities who don't depend on status conditions to enhance their sync, because Azelf has to stay asleep at all times. Look for strikers who can max their offense on their own, and also have inertia or haymaker as passive skills. Bug type strikers can also do well. Personally, I think Barry is the best free-to-play choice for this strategy, but he needs a 3-5 grid for inertia to perform optimally. Because of this, I think Oak is the best compromise for free-to-play players. I generally never recommend Oak for these strategies because he's a limited unit, but there was ample opportunity to recruit him during the game's anniversary that just passed right before Azelf's legendary arena. Oak is incredibly tanky and supplies an extra layer of defense for the team. He also has blind spot and inertia on his sync grid, both of which massively increase the power of his sync nuke. Because the sleep chain I will show today uses Oak, it is possible to use Unfortuitous 9 to address the inconsistencies that come with Listen Sleep 8. I won't cover the mechanics for this too in depth, but suffice to say, Listen Sleep 8 has a lot of randomness involved, and doing a sleep chain against it is very difficult because you won't be able to predict when Azelf wakes up. If your attack has a consistent effect proccing when it ends, it will force the queue to refresh, so to speak, and force Listen Sleep 8 to pass by and the target will wake up if timed right. It's a little hard to explain, so I will just give you examples. Things like MGR 9, Olivia's Amped Up, or Oak's Unfortuitous 9 always activate when they perform an action. This can be used to refresh the queue, force a sleeping target to wake up, and have a sleep move queued immediately afterwards to continue the sleep chain. If you have a 3-5 Skyla, you have access to Gust MGR 9, which gives you an easy way of performing a sleep chain. I will first cover the Oak method, because I believe most players watching this video will have to use that instead, but I will also cover Gust MGR 9 if you think that will be better for you. If you are interested in further reading for MGR assistance, I recommend you read the Reddit guides I linked in the description. Alright, let's get this show rolling. Here is my first team, it's a debuffing team. Normally I have a section in the tutorial explaining how debuffs work for Legendary Arena, but I feel this is a very common strategy nowadays, so I will be a lot briefer with this. This is a sacrificial team. Naturally, there is no way this combination can ever beat Azelf, but the point of this team is dropping Azelf's stats so that it's a lot easier for your main team to do what they need to do. And this is especially useful in the case of Azelf because he has some preposterous offensive stats. We're talking about 700 special attack and attack. His sync is physical, so you kind of have to take care of that as well. But here I got Mina and Surge. They drop stats very reliably. Mina can drop attack to -6 after 3 charm applications, and the same goes for Surge, but for special attack with Eerie Impulse. And Erika is here to tank for them so that they don't die as soon as they enter the battle. I also graded Erika for honor roll tiles, which help her proc the secondary effect of Energy Ball, which is dropping special defense. But this is not as necessary, don't sweat the debuffs too much, because Oak himself can debuff all the stats, so any shortcomings from the debuffing teams can be made up through Oak, because he's just very reliable at debuffing universally, so don't worry about it too much. You could send another team to drop Azelf's accuracy with Hapu or Clement, but I feel having spare teams is very helpful in case Oak fails to do his job. But yeah, you also want to die very quickly with this team because you don't want to overstay your welcome and let Azelf advance his sync countdown, because his sync buffs just make him really strong and you don't want to see that kind of damage. And here we got the main team. We got Skyla, who provides speed, defense and the potion support for the party. Then there is Oak, who is going to tank, and also Nuke Azelf for the bulk of our offense. And we got Agatha, who clips Hypnosis and prevents Azelf from attacking. Now, don't be scared about my unit investment. I know that I got some really chunky units here, like 5 stars on Skyla and Oak, but when a sleep chain is executed right, you're barely going to take damage, so don't worry about the unit potential too much, although 4-star Oak would help immensely in case he gets hit by Azelf. And I also got some scary grid potential in here, but I adjusted my setup so that it is accessible for a 1-5 Skyla, for example. So Skyla is gridded for a 1-5 grid, very minimal as well, and she's got Unbending to prevent defense drops from Azelf in case she has to start tanking if Oak goes down. And she's also got Take Flight MPR. This is extremely important because this team doesn't have any move gauge refreshes, so the speed will keep up the move gauge and the sleep chain going, especially because Oak has some very expensive moves that he has to use. And she's also got Potion MPR. That extra refresh may save Oak from dying, but I don't feel it's necessary. I completed this battle several times without a single Potion MP refresh. And we got Oak. Oak is gridded for a full 3-5 grid, and I recommend this because on Oak's event you can scout him at 5-5 for free if you play his event a little bit, so it's accessible for any new player that bother with this throughout the anniversary. So Oak is gridded for Sync Nuking and for evasion tiles. He's going to tank, so the evasion is going to help a lot, and he's got Inertia and Blind Spot. Inertia improves sync damage when you boost your speed, and Blind Spot does the same but when you boost your evasion. So in conjunction, they sort of make up the offense that Oak is lacking when he doesn't have a crit support, for example. So we're just going to defeat Azelf through raw power from his sinks. And then we got Agatha. 5-5 Agatha doesn't even matter, maybe she has to attack, but at 4 stars she tanks everything she needs to do, so a freshly scouted Agatha at 1-5 works for this. She's here just to click Hypnosis, and I recommend her instead of Ramos because of her speed. I honestly haven't tested this with Ramos, but I didn't think it would work because he's very slow relative to Agatha. And also Agatha doesn't have Troublemaker 1 unlike my Ramos, so I wanted to show that this strat is still fairly accessible even if you don't have that lucky skill available on your party. Although you have Serena, she's way better for this. She can self-off accuracy and is almost as fast as Agatha herself. Okay, I think that's enough explanation, so let's go defeat Azelf. The first thing you need to do is get your buffs going, and you also have to reset for Take Flight MP Refresh, so that could be a little annoying, but max speed on this party is absolutely necessary. I tried doing this with only 2 Take Flight uses, but it just wasn't working out, so make sure to get a refresh in there to get max speed. And because of this, you also don't have to use Agatha's trainer move, because Skyla is maxing Agatha's speed for her. Speed affects move gauge, the rate at which it fills up, so max speed is absolutely necessary for this sleep chain to work. And Agatha's trainer move also deducts her HP, and you want to avoid that like the plague, because Agatha can barely tank Azelf's Fierce Sync, as is with all the attack drops and defense buffs we got going, so it's absolutely important that you leave Agatha's HP alone. And we also got Oak's buffs. Oak has a chance of buffing any stat. Ideally he would buff special defense, accuracy or evasion. If you buff his accuracy, you could use his more advanced moves like Thunder or Blizzard. And I got the accuracy buff in this battle, but I want to show that this works with Hypnosis even if it's weaker. So here's where the sleep chain sort of starts. First I make a wall Gengar because I need his speed. Agatha gains a little bit of speed when she Mega Balls, and all the move gauge you can get really helps. So here's where the sleep chain starts. When you see Hypnosis, when you see the animation land, you can start timing your sleep chain. First you want to use Gust with Skyla, then you want to use Oak's attacking move. If it is Swift, well, I am using Swift because it's more cost efficient at the moment, but he's going to lose that when he sinks for the first time. So after that is going to be Psychic, okay? So first you Gust to use an attack from Oak, and after using Gust you want to Gust again. You can actually skip this, but it's better for your gauge to use Gust because it has a somewhat slow animation, so you get more gauge from using Gust than from skipping this action from Skyla. And it also advances the sync countdown, so it's better for Skyla to perform an extra attack in here because Gust is cheap, we might as well. And here's where you gotta watch out for the Hypnosis timing. You need to see Oki's attack animation, and you need to wait until Oki's damage numbers come up, right about here. When you see the numbers, you want to time Hypnosis, you want to use it, okay? And if timed right, you will notice that Azelf barely woke up and I was able to put him back to sleep. So let's see that one more time. We got Hypnosis, we got Gust, Swift again, wait for Swift, his damage numbers, just Gust, I almost forgot about that. But when you see the damage numbers, you can use Hypnosis again, and put Azelf back to sleep. So you might notice that I use Hypnosis very late there. This is a somewhat ample window, like it's not a very precise timing. I'm just giving you the cue of the damage numbers so that you got something to go to use as a timing method. But yeah, when you reach your sync, you want to use that after Hypnosis, because syncs sort of freeze the queue, like the overall global timer for the battle, and that is a safe time to use a sync after the Hypnosis happens. And now we lose Swift, but can start using Psychic for our purposes. So another thing about Azelf is that when he reaches half health or switches phases, he restores his status. So if you sort of predict this, like say you know that your sync is going to push Azelf after 50% HP, you can queue Hypnosis. I was a little late on this attempt. I should have used Hypnosis right after the Oki sync, because it sort of looked like he was going to push him past half health. But whatever. We have the defenses to tank him a little bit, we got potions, so that doesn't matter as much. But at this point, Agatha decided to start trolling me. She started missing Hypnosis a lot. So when this happens, what you want to do is use Gust to advance the sync countdown, because you might as well. And just hope for Hypnosis to hit. And this is an issue if you don't have Troublemaker 1 as a lucky skill, and unfortunate circumstance about it. And on this I think I missed the sleep timing. Yeah, that happened because I used Potion on Agatha, but still, I did a lot of mistakes with the sleep chaining, but it didn't matter, dude. Don't sweat it too much, you don't need to have a perfect sleep chain for this strat to work. It's mostly the Hypnosis prevents damage, and you can do a sleep chain because Oak has him for 2 use 9. Either way, Oak can drop stats with that passive, so eventually he's going to get evasion drops, and when he has -1, and when Azelf has -1 evasion, Hypnosis can land about 90% of the time. When Azelf has -2 evasion, Hypnosis should be 100% accurate, I'm not sure. But either way, eventually Oak can guarantee the Hypnosis accuracy. If you reset for early evasion, then, well, that's your prerogative, but I don't think it's necessary. Eventually he's going to get evasion drops and help Agatha. So, usually when Oak sinks and Azelf is this low on health, he will always push him past the next health transition. So you want to make sure that when this happens, you got the chance of using Agatha's Hypnosis to put Azelf back to sleep, and we restart the sleep chain. Hypnosis, Gust, attack from Oak, wait for Oak's damage numbers, Hypnosis again, and I continue this through the rest of the battle, adjusting for Hypnosis misses. Eventually, if you think that you cannot maintain the sleep chain, you want to heal Agatha, because on the tier health bar, right around here, Azelf opens this round with a Swift and can snipe Agatha. So you gotta make sure that you can put him to sleep through that, or heal Agatha in the case you lose the sleep chain. But at this point, I just repeat the same chain, eventually reaching my sync so that I can deliver the coup de grace and defeat Azelf. Overall, it's a simple strategy. Like, I didn't even plan for a sleep chain to work with him for 2 use 9, but Oki's skills just set it up for that to happen. And it makes the sleep chain very consistent. Even with a lot of mistakes, a lot of chokes, I was still able to defeat Azelf. Okay, now I want to show you another attempt I had very quickly. On this attempt, I mismanaged my sleep chain, or I don't even remember. But Azelf was able to snipe Oak with a crit thunder. He has a little bit of crit on this stage and piercing gaze. And crits bypass defense and debuffs, so he was able to snipe Oak with a max power thunder and he died. So at this point you might panic and say, oh no, the battle is over, I don't have Oak anymore. That is not true necessarily. because on this phase, Azelf barely has any defenses, and he still works the same as on the other phases. So on his first 50% HP, he has max... He has defensive resistance, while on his second half health, he has a special defense resistance. So you can play accordingly. I am playing for Agatha Shadow Ball for Gust because they hit on the special side, and they still chip Azelf very well, even though they don't, both of these don't have any offensive stats. That's just because Azelf doesn't have any bulk to speak of. Sync with Agatha on the first half health because special damage hits a lot harder, and Agatha's sync is special. And afterwards, what I did was use Aerial Ace and keep trying to put Azelf to sleep to prevent damage. Aerial Ace is still hitting for 1000 damage per use, so even if these two fail to take down Azelf eventually, you can send more teams. You got the 6 sync pairs to spare for the medal and just defeat Azelf because he just doesn't have any defenses. This phase is really weak, and you could send another sleeper if you want, if you feel that you need a safety, but when you reach the tier health bar, the battle is basically over. Azelf is really weak and he's helpless against any remotely powerful team, so yeah. Alright, now I am going to explain the MGR9 assisted approach for this battle, and this is a terminology derived from Mugau's Refresh 9. This is a skill that both Skyla and Corina can have. Skyla on her 3-5 grid and Corina on her 2-5 grid for Gust and Vacuum Wave respectively. And both of these attacks have a consistent property of always proccing Mugau's at the end of them. And this works the same as on 4-Idius 9. It sort of refreshes the queue and sets up the battle in such a way that Azelf wakes up immediately after the Mugau's refresh, and you can have your sleeper put them back to sleep immediately afterwards and prevent damage. I recommend using Skyla for this. If you want to use Corina, I set up the guide in the description, but I think Corina is way more inconsistent. If you have Corina, you need to use Agatha or a really fast sleeper, because Skyla helps a lot more because, well, first off, Gust has a very slow animation, so it helps with the sleep intervals, and she also provides speed for the party, which enables many more users for this to work. So besides that, I am going to be referred with the setup. We got a Skyla with Gust MGR 9, obviously the reason this works. Ramos with Troublemaker 1, this was a no damage run, so that it meant I needed perfect accuracy in my sleep moves, and Troublemaker 1 helps with that. And then I got Borg because I just wanted to use him. The striker is very permissive for this strat. Basically, you want to look for a striker who has a consistent attack animation. They are either fast or have a move gauge refresh, and they also have 100% accuracy. So for example, Borg counts, you can use Hilda with Flame Charge, maybe Iris with Outrage, but she will need a Clear Headed or Listen Confusion 9, unless you get hit by Confusion by hitting yourself. Either way, Borg works, it's just what I chose to use. So this works functionally the same as the Oak strat. First, I got a little bit of Take Flight going because, well, it's a no damage round, so I only have one turn to buff. But because Gust MGR 9 also provides gauge for the party, the max speed is not as important, and also Borg himself just provides a crapload of gauge because he's so fast. So this works the same as the Oak Chain, but instead of using Psychic or Swift as the trigger, we're using Gust as a trigger for Azelf waking up. So the sleep chain starts when I put Azelf to sleep. I use a sleep powder, then Q an attack from Borg, because you need to have something happening before the Gust to force the sleep tick a little bit. And then you use Gust. Gust is going to force Azelf to wake up. And right after that, you can use any action with the Borg. You can finish buffing up, you can use a sync. But after Gust, it's a relatively safe time for you to do something with him, because the Gust will force Azelf to wake up. And here's where you gotta time the sleep powder. You gotta wait for Gust to hit Azelf, and then use sleep powder when you see the damage numbers come up. There is a very big window for the Azelf, for the sleep powder to connect. It can be right before the damage numbers go away, but I think seeing the damage numbers is a very consistent queue, and it's a lot easier to time. With Corina with Vacuum Wave MGR 9, it's a lot more difficult because Vacuum Wave is so fast that you actually have to time it, you have to wait for the end of the vacuum wave animation past the damage numbers for that to work. So I think it's a lot easier for Skyla. But it's now I do the same thing the entire battle. Sleep Powder, Gust, you know. But on this part, I am noticing that I am very close to 50% HP on Azelf. And when he reaches this range, he refreshes Sleep Powder, so he's going to break the sleep chain. So you need to predict that. You need to push him past this range. And I also have a chance to use Take Flight with Skyla here to give myself a bit more gauge. So right after pushing him past the healing from sleep, I put him back to sleep with Sleep Powder and restart the chain. Sleep Powder, attack from Borg, Gust, and then another action from Borg. And Sleep Powder when I see the damage numbers from Gust, and that's what I do through the entire encounter. There is no science to it, it's just a pattern. During the phase transitions you need to be a little careful because something weird happens on this. Sometimes Azelf wakes up immediately, even if you maintain the chain. So when you see a health transition and Azelf restores his status ailment, what you need to do here is, well, first set the battle speed to slow, okay? You Sleep Powder, then you use Gust and wait for the end of the Gust animation. You don't want to use a Sleep Powder here, you want to wait for the Gust damage numbers to go away. Just delay it just a bit further than usual, and then Sleep Powder. And this should guarantee that you maintain the sleep chain. You don't have to do this. If Azelf attacks you, it's not the end of the world, but I had to take this precaution because it was another damage run. So I also take the same safety on the second health bar. Depletion. So I Sleep Powder after the health transition, I put Azelf back to sleep, set the speed to slow, wait for Gust, wait for the damage numbers to go away, and then Sleep Powder and restart the chain. So this is just a little safety precaution for the health transitions, and eventually the party is going to defeat this phase because, well, first off it has no defenses, but Borg can just Sing Nuke the last bit of his HP away and defeat Azelf, and there you go. 2 sleep chain methods to defeat Azelf. Hope they help. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you get the medal because of this methodology. See you next time.